Hey Tony, it's Friday, and first off, to answer your question of the week, I have not heard of it, but I'm certainly down to learn of it. And what I want to talk about this week is actually kind of. I've had about 6 different ideas for this video, and I actually started recording one the other day, and I hated everything about it. It was terrible. So I deleted it. So, as you hear the guinea pigs rioting. So, what I want to talk about today is something that it's going to be a little depressing, a little bit, in a way. Like, it's not going to be like overwhelmingly depressing, but it's definitely going to be a little darker than some other videos. And I'm going to talk about time. So when I say time, I mean like time as not so much a concept, but as the only finite resource of the entire universe. Because time is always moving forward no matter what you do. You can never go back in time, you can only go forward. And time, especially, I know I certainly have some issues with time management, in which, like, maybe I'll have things I want to do, but instead of doing them, I will just sit in one spot and kind of do something completely unrelated or completely unuseful. And until I look at the time, like our concept of time of like, oh, it's, I should have been in bed 6 hours ago. I should get off. And the reason why I want to talk about time is because it is in part due to a song, and in part due to the fact that all we have and the only thing that really matters is time. So the reason why I say that if all we have is time is it's a song lyric actually to from Maps for the Getaway by Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. I've been a huge fan of Andrew McMahon for probably 15 years now, and he made a song 6 years ago or so called Maps for the Getaway, and you have to look it up. It's excellent. It's one of my favorite songs by him. And the main chorus of it is all we have is time. And that's true. Everything that we do in life is in part based on time. Because time is the one thing we have a finite amount of in our lives that every single person who has ever lived, every single person who will ever live, will eventually run out of time. And I know that's kind of dark and depressing, but it's also kind of beautiful in a way, but also kind of shows in a way the cyberpunk dystopia that we live in, because time is the one resource we can spend. And most people, myself included, spend our time working. We sell our time for whatever our wage is. And that's the easiest way to put it is whatever your paycheck is, or whatever you do, you're selling your time for that. And from that point, what you spend is then gone, and you use what you can with the remaining time you have. And you also use the time you've spent for the time you have. So the reason why I say that is because, like, for example, on most days, I wake up at 6 a.m. I'm on the road by about 7:15 a.m., and I get to work by about 8:15. And I'm there till, usually about 6. And then I make my way back home, and I get home, usually because I have to stop the store, I usually get home around 7:30. So throughout my day, that's pretty much 13 of my 24 hours a day that go to work or traveling to and from work or getting ready for work. And I get paid a good amount for it, but it's still a resource that I never get back. And the problem I have is when I get home, there are usually so many projects that I want to do. Like, I have about 5 projects in mind right now that I just really want to do. And because I spend my time, and sometimes I'd spend it unwisely, many of those projects don't get done. And it's something I need to work on to be better myself, because time is such a finite resource, and I don't have much of it. Like, even taking away the aspect of selling over half of my day for my wage, I still like much of what I have is I pretty much most nights have maybe 3 to 4 hours, and on weekends I usually have about 24 hours, about 28 to 30 hours to work with, give or take, not including sleeping time. And I need to make better use of that time there. Because I notice a lot of times what I do is maybe I will just scroll Reddit for a half hour where I could have been doing something else that I enjoy more, or I go read the news, not so much the news, but like because I do enjoy reading the news. Maybe I'll like scroll through Facebook for a half hour or so, or like it's probably like more like an hour interspersed throughout my evening because oh hey something's on TV. Okay, it's at a commercial breaker. It's in between videos. I'm gonna go look at my phone and see what's going on in the world. And I don't use that time very well. I don't. There are a lot of things I could do that I enjoy more than with that limited time than what I do. And it's something I need to get better at because in the end, like all we have is time, but also time is always running out because you're never going to have enough time to do everything that you want. And that's something that in our world today we have to understand is there are a lot of things we want to do, but there's not enough time in the day for it between our work hours and our ways we try and survive. And that's really kind of sad because you see in a lot of times when there is an era of great prosperity, the idea behind much of human progress is you want to make it easier for humans. And we have many items now that make it easier for us. Like, for example, we have automobiles that make it so we can go where we need to in way shorter time than we ever could have even 150 years ago. We have airplanes that let you go further than you ever could have really before. And we have all sorts of little things that make our lives easier and better. So in theory, we would have a lot more time to work with, but in practice, we really don't. Now, a lot of that is in part based on some of the economy. Like, we live in a consumer economy, and we always have to consume to make the economy function. And the way we consume is by selling our time for money and then using that money for what we consume to keep the economy going. And usually what we do there is, in theory, we're so much more efficient now than we ever were in history. With our computers, we can do crazy amounts of work crazy fast. So again, like you would think in theory, it would make it so we would have more time to work with. But in practice, we end up taking more time because we have all this great efficiency now, and we use that to try and make more product push, which, generally makes our stock prices and company prices go up, even if the employee wage has stayed stagnant for years, decades even. And we're kind of at a bit of a fever pitch on that right now. I think historically, the last time I can think of like the same fever pitch we have right now would have been industrialization, in which we had all these things now that made our time, our work so much more efficient that we were able to keep filling it up with more and more and more. And it wasn't until unions got involved and other organizations got involved, which they decided that this time that we spend, this time that we should have free, should be free. We don't have to work nonstop now to function. And I'm certainly think we're kind of getting to that point here as well, because we're in a major technological revolution, like in mom and dad's lifetime. Now, mom and dad are not old, but in the past 60 years, the amount of crazy advancement we've had is just that, it's crazy. And now I think it's time for us to try and find a way to use all this extra time and efficiency we have to make it so we can live more fulfilling lives. Tony, my question for you is going to be completely unrelated. What do you think of the Avatar Powered by the Apocalypse Kickstarter? Tony, I'll see you on Monday. Later, bro.